Hey, thanks for joining me again. Today I'm sharing with you my thoughts about the Osprey Hydraulics Reservoir. This is the 3-liter one that I have. Osprey makes two different kinds of reservoirs. They make this kind that has this hard back plate on it, and they make fully flexible ones that don't. So, a few things about this. So first I'll say that in probably about 10 plus years ago, I used a lot of different of these, various types of bladders made by various brands. And each one of them failed on me for a different reason, whether it was because the material was too plasticky and cracked, or whether it, tore at a seam, or whether it was the plug at the bottom started leaking. So for like approximately 10 years, I kind of just gave up on using these reservoirs, or some people like me call them bladders. And then I decided this past year to give it another try. I'm like, all right, looks like the technology has advanced quite a bit. I'll try it out again. So far, I'll start by saying I am pretty happy with it so far. I don't have any serious complaints, but there are a couple things that I would like to see a little bit different. So first of all, I'll tell you what I like about it, and then I'll tell you what I think could be a little bit better. First off, this one is I think I already said this is the 3-liter version. It comes in other sizes as well. This one comes with this zip how do I explain? Like kind of a Ziploc style. It's got this thing that to fill it, you open this top part. It's got a little handle that you can hold, and then you can fill it in the sink or wherever, or from a water filter or whatever. And then you fold it over and you slide this thing on. And it's got this little leash that attaches this so you don't lose that part. So I like this system so far. It's been pretty good. Next thing is it has this little quick release piece. So you just push the button and pull that thing out, and it disconnects the hose from the rest of the unit. So that's pretty cool. And then it just kind of snaps right back in. What's cool about that is that the advantage of that is basically that when you remove the bladder out of your pack to fill it, you don't have to unhook the hose from like all the straps inside your, in your shoulder strap and everything. In order to, take this out, you can just disconnect it and then pull out the bag, fill this with water, put it back in, snap it back in, and then you're good to go. Next thing that's cool about it is something that I think is really brilliant that Osprey did is they started putting these like magnetic pieces next to the bite valve, and then there's like another piece that connects onto your sternum strap of your backpack, so that when you're hiking, instead of having this thing just flopping around, it will just it'll just magnetize to its counterpart. So it's, for most of the time and for most people, for most uses, it's going to be fine. One thing to take into consideration is that if you have a compass that you're relying upon to tell you which way you're going, that magnet is likely to throw off the compass. So just keep that in mind. Next thing, so basically one of the defining features of this reservoir is this hardback. And what's great about this is if you've used bladders in the past, hydration bladders in the past, one frustration that you've probably had, especially using them for backpacking. So let's say you have a full backpack full of all your gear, okay? You've drunk up all your water, and this is typically on the sleeve on the inside of the pack, okay? So when it's empty, it's real easy to pull out, right? And then you fill it up with water, and this thing's bulging out, and then you want to get it back in, but the thing's just folding over, and you can't get the thing back in, so you have to take out a bunch of your gear, and in order to slide this thing back in, then put a bunch of your gear back in the whole, afterwards. So, basically one of the things that this hardback helps with, not perfectly, but it's definitely a lot better, is that once it's filled, it has that extra rigidity, so you can kind of cram it back in without having to pull so much gear out to get it back in. Let's see, a couple other things to note. This Osprey's reservoirs, they're made by another company called Hydropack, okay, and then they're branded by Osprey. And Hydropack, they're making great reservoirs and great products from what I've seen so far. Also, you know, like I was saying earlier, some of the problems I've had with some of the reservoirs in the past is that one of the issues is that the material of the bag was too high of a plastic ratio that it would crack in certain spots. This one is very flexible and very soft, and I don't foresee that happening with this reservoir. Something I'll be looking out for, you know, for the future is to see something I've seen on another one is that this piece right here on a different bladder that I've had in the past has separated from the lamination, has separated from the bag and caused a leak and soaked all my gear inside my bag, which was horrible. Definitely don't want that happening. So that's something that I'll be watching closely for on this bag to see if that happens. But so far it's been pretty good, and I've had it for a number of months and been using it pretty regularly. Something to note if you are a first-time potential buyer for using these bladders, these reservoirs, something to consider is you really have to be particular about cleaning it and drying it out. Otherwise, you're just going to get a bunch of mold growing in the tube and growing in the bag. Basically, after every time you use it, if you don't plan to use it the next day, don't let water sit in here ever, basically. So what I do is I disconnect everything. I open everything up. I empty out all the water. I actually remove this piece off the hose, and I take this bite valve off also, and I take the pieces of the bite valve apart too, and I spin out the hose, and I hang this thing upside down and put it, you know, it's involved to dry it out. So they do make products like, you know, like a Bottle Bright and stuff like that. I haven't used that at all in the past. I just make sure that I hang it out to dry, you know, out in the sun, and I haven't had any issues with it. I just get it as dry as I can just from, you know, shaking it out and stuff and disconnecting everything, and then, you know, and then everything seems to dry okay in the sun. Now, getting to the thing that I wish was different, and it's weird. A friend of mine has an old Osprey hydration bladder, and the valve, so this valve has like a lockout mechanism to, you know, so that it doesn't leak when you lock it out, basically. And it's important to use that because I've forgotten to do that a couple times, and it's caused like puddles inside my house from the bite valve getting stepped on, or even in my car just the other day, I forgot to lock out the valve and it soaked the seat and the floor. So that was kind of dumb. But so right now, the way that Osprey is making their lockout system, it's like this rotating thing, which is, you know, it works, but it's not super easy to use. And I don't know why they left their old design. What they used to do is, it used to be like that this piece kind of had like a pivot right over here, and it would go from that to that. And I forget which one it was because I didn't own it, but I saw it on my friend's. One of those positions is the lockout position, and the other one is like the, you know, open flow. So that one seems to be a little bit better than this twisting thing, and I wish that they did that. Also, I know that Osprey makes replacement pieces, like replacement bite valves. This whole thing kind of comes apart, and I actually do this every time I dry the thing out after using it. And I recommend you do too if you're going to use this. But these things eventually, they, you know, from biting on them a million times, these things eventually start tearing, and they do make replacements. It's like they have like a 3-pack for, I don't know, like it's like $6 to $10 for like a 3-pack of these little silicone bite valves. So that's something good to know for future reference. And that's pretty much it. I do like this, and I think you will too. Main thing is just be super particular about drying it out so you don't end up with a moldy bag. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will get back to you with answers. And please like and subscribe. It helps me rank higher in the search rankings. And thanks for watching.